my brothers and sisters and lovers. In God's name we live, in God's name we serve, and in God's name we shall perish and die. Welcome back to another podcast episode of The Rebels United. And today cannot be a crazier day to host a podcast. So much to talk about, so much. But before we go to that, I would like to holler at my friend Tommy Schaefer. So far, I have only received criticism for this podcast, or no kind words, I will say. I didn't even know if people were actually listening. We were just doing it because it's fun. But Tommy is the first person to officially message us and saying, I love your podcast. It's great. Keep doing the job. So I congratulate both of you too. It's a small token of appreciation, but it's the first, so means a lot to me. All
That's
right,
great.
sweet, sweet, sweet. So that being said, before we jump into the craziness of Robert Kennedy Jr. declaring his independent presidential run and what's happening in Israel and Hamas, I want to start on a more jolly note before we jump into the serious, crazy stuff. So today, uh, I want your guys' opinion on something that I have a habit of doing for a long time. So basically, whenever I go to a gym, I create my own gym family. It's just like a work family. Especially me being all alone here in US at the moment, I really needed that kind of a connection. It definitely helps me be more motivated to forward to doing something every day. And it has nurtured me in a lot of ways because I do have some great guys as my older brothers, younger brothers. And then there is always those couple of girls you have a secret crush on. Those are like your gym girlfriends or gym wife. You never talk to them, but you still feel motivated and you have their attention and they have your attention. So that's the kind of thing I do to keep me going at the gym. Do you guys have any ritual like that at gym or work, whatever you prefer to talk about? Joe, we haven't heard from you forever, so I will start with you.
Okay. So you want to know if I go to the gym and what I do to motivate?
Yep. Along the lines of having a brotherhood or a family too, or at work, it's just like, do you have any such ritual?
I think I'm different than everybody else in the world. I I don't go to the gym. I think you can exercise anywhere. I
Of
was
course.
driving today and I was doing my neck exercises. All I do is put my hand on the side of my head and push and hold my head in place, so basically putting pressure on the neck. So I do that, for 20 seconds each side, and then same with front and back, then repeat until, I can't. If I'm standing in line, I can tense my stomach. I got bottles of water at home. I don't need to go buy weights because I've got bottles of water. I just lift the bottles of water. I
Okay.
walk. So
So
there's
it's like resistance training, right?
exactly. And then I just got this thing and I used it for the first time today. I got it yesterday and I used it for the first time today. And I don't even know what it's called. I don't know the company name. I'm going to have to find it and get it to you because it's a cool thing. It's just a disc. It's a rubber disc, and you sit it on your chair and you sit on it. And it's a wobbly thing.
So
So
you have to.
you you can move move your hips and move your back, and it's basically moving your spine. So when you're sitting at the desk, you're moving your spine, and it actually helps your core and helps lubricate the spine.
Interesting.
So that's something I just started, but and I do that in the morning. They told me that using it in the morning was a good idea. The guy that sells them gave it to me. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and he just handed it to me. So anyway, it feels really good. I feel better today. Um, in a couple of ways. One, I posted this on Facebook some time ago that I think somebody turned up the gravity. I just felt heavy all the time. And my back was getting stiff and whatnot. Well, I actually feel taller today, and I only used it this morning,
I
once.
I'm so baffled. Like somebody turned on the gravity or increase it. Like, what do you mean?
Well, what
I
I mean is I'm getting older, and I just, when I get up, I just can't move as fast or whatnot. It just feels, I just feel tired and heavy, and it's hard to move around. But today's better because I used that thing this morning. I don't know. I might have used it for 5 minutes, maybe 10.
well,
Um, I don't really time things. I do count sometimes, but. A lot of the time I just do stuff. But like with the neck exercises, I do count. Um, I'm trying to think of other exercises I do. I haven't done a push up in a long time, but I run through my house to the kitchen and kind
nah,
of throw myself against the counter. So I lean forward, grab the counter, and then push myself off of it. So that's kind of like a push up, and it's a forceful push up. So. And if I'm doing that, I will walk back and forth through the house I don't know how many times, but I'll just keep doing it for a while. And that's, it's good walking, and it's, those, it's pushing. I'll push against a wall. I'll push against something, and
did did
I
you
don't know.
ever finish that book you were writing?
Say that again.
The book you were writing.
Oh, yeah, I haven't published it yet because I haven't even had time to think about it. I think about it now and then, but I haven't had time to sit down. I've got to edit. I've got to finish editing because I really want it to be, when I put it out there, I want it to be a good book that everybody's really happy that they bought. So I want to tweak it until I'm super happy.
Okay.
And I haven't had time to look at it lately because, well, I did a 5-day stint as a cameraman downtown, and those are long days. I just have a lot of other things going. I'm editing some TV shows that I shot. I did do the Spinners and Miracles concert on Saturday. I directed a video crew to shoot that, and I have to go through and edit that thing. So there's
Well,
just a lot going on. I don't really have a lot of time to think about the book right now, but I do want to get that out because I know that's going to be a good thing for a lot of people. Plus, it'll be, money in my pocket. That's something I need.
of course. And once you finish it, we will plug it on the show.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Oh, come on, it's your show, brother. Bhavin, how about yourself? Do you have any points to add to that, or what I was
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, definitely. So your question was basically how if I go to gym and basically same thing like how do I keep sane, right, with keeping company, and so I think, and I also want to say like everything Joe said was actually creative. He's been creative on many levels, and that was actually good. I do something similar as well. I don't really go to the gym every day, especially after COVID. All the scare about like the 6 feet, the indoors, all that stuff. So basically, all the gyms are indoors usually. So I was doing a lot of outdoor activities, and some of the things I do, right? I actually hate going to the gym because it's the same repetition that kind of becomes very boring, right? So I rather play sports. So basically get your running in when you go play soccer. So I started playing soccer for the last, you know, like a little more than a year. So before that, I was playing tennis for 3 years, and I also play volleyball once a week. But basically, it kind of gets you to answer your question, kind of gets you into the different groups. So because I'm playing with like different people, so I have two different soccer groups that I go play with, right? So it's different people in both groups. One of them we play about 2-3 times a week. We try to, outdoors in the summer. In the winter they go indoors. But then I have the other group, they play through the winter, even in the cold. That's a once a week. So we try to do that, even if it's like 40 degrees or 30 degrees. And then the volleyball thing is indoors, that's once a week. Then, stuff like that. So I always have existed in groups, a lot of groups, because throughout my life, I also have moved a lot, right? So this is my fourth state in the US that I actually have lived in, like, over 25 years, basically. So everywhere I go, I make friends, so I got like high school group, I got college group, I got, my first job wherever I was, second job. I mean, it just basically keeps on going. I make friends all over the world. And in fact, I also have friends who are even outside of US, right? So I have groups even outside. So it depends on, I mean, I have so many groups, I have so many existence where I belong, right? So like, yeah, I don't talk to them every day because of course distance makes it difficult. But wherever you live, right, you're going to have a local group where, because of the smaller distance, you're going to engage more with them. But that's one way I keep saying, because, as you guys might know or might not know, that I have always been working remotely. So when you work remotely, and I've been remote since like 2009 or 10, even in Arizona when I was there, my job wasn't remote, but I was doing it remotely until somebody was looking for me at work. And then I just drive, like that 1 mile, because I actually live right across. But my last job since 2012, the 10 years, I was always remote. So in a remote job, you don't get to socialize enough, right? Unless you're at the customer sites and things like that. Like, you're not seeing your co-workers, because they're obviously way far from you, like other states. So I've always had this system going where I always existed in groups for different purposes, and then I always interact with them depending on whatever the time allows, right? So because you always have less time than you need, just as Joe emphasized, right? So, but I try to be creative with and outside the sports, right? Sometimes from home, and if I, feel like working out, I'll do some push-ups, I'll do some crunches and things like that. But basically, whenever time calls for it, I do it. I'm not a strictly, go to the gym. I was like you, Koki, go to the gym when I was in Arizona, like 13 years ago. But um, since then, it's a different environment, different lifestyle, different things, right? Because here, even going to the gym, kind of like in the winter, it's kind of like, oh, I don't want to go, because it's like the thought, you go to the gym, and then when you come out, even if you're a little bit sweaty, or if your clothes are sweaty, or even if you change the clothes, it's so freaking cold outside. You don't want to go from the gym to your car because it's just so cold. Then your car's cold. It's just like that whole the negative mentality, right? Not that I'm trying to be negative, but it's just like, oh, I don't want to do that. So sometimes it's easy to do certain things in your home, and it could be resistive training, like Joe described. It could be just lifting stuff around your house. He's lifting water bottles. I'm lifting other things. But yeah, anything that you can get your hands on. Any dead weight around your house, because I'm not really measuring it. Like, it doesn't have to be 20 pounds. If it's 15, whatever. If it's 16, whatever. If I'm trying to get 30 pounds to lift, if I have something laying around that's maybe close to it, yeah, who cares? Just do some reps. But one thing I always have done, though, one thing about my discipline when I work out or do anything, right, is, sometimes you want to count the reps, right? So like you say, okay, I'm going to do this thing 10 times, like 10 reps before I put it down. One thing that triggers in my head always, because I'm always trying to be perfect, right? I'm always trying to, I mean, ever since I was 6 years old, anything I do, I try to be perfect. I know people say no one's perfect. That's true. No one is perfect. But trying to be perfect pushes you closer to the perfection than you not trying at all, right? So most people don't even try. And I think that's where I excel, because I try to put my it makes me put more effort to do something right than just doing it or not doing it right. Because when you don't do it right, most of the time, you may not get the best result, right? For example, like, let's say if you own a business and you're trying to sell something, your profit margin might be small if you don't really care. But if you try to squeeze out all the expenses properly, be more precise and everything, you know, all that stuff, yeah, you could increase your profit margin by whatever, that few cents. And over time, that adds up. So workout is the same way. So when I do the repetitions, let's say if I have to do something 10 times, and if I feel like one of those 10 wasn't good enough, so I'm still counting in my head, but I won't count that, right? So in this case, the 11th rep would be the 10th rep. So for example, if I'm doing something and if I'm doing 10 times, and let's say rep number 2, 5, and 6, I feel like it wasn't perfect. Okay, in this case, when I hit the 10, I'm going to go 11, 12, 13, because 13 in this case is the actual 10, right? Like I want the 10 perfect reps if I'm doing 10 perfect reps. And that's how I always operated. So like, it's my personal, what do you say, personal measurement, that if I'm not measuring up to what I was supposed to do, like the full range motion or, lifting the weight a certain way, then I'm going to do that extra ones just to compensate for the bad ones. And that's when I call my work done.
No, I understand, but I guess I don't know. I think I did not put the quotient forward the right way. So let me explain, and then we will just move on to the next topic. But
Sure.
what I was trying to say is, I'm a very social person, not in the sense that I want to go talk to everybody, but I need to have certain people that I see on daily basis so that I have feeling of belonging, as you said, right? So for me, that stability comes from going to the gym. It used to be coming from going to the work. And there was times where I had Christian as my friend, and he was my gym and work family. So it's the notion of just like what we seek at home is to seek at gym or any place where you're going to. It could be church. You know what? The concept is wherever you go, you create a family so that you have a feeling of belonging and you have somebody you look up to, and then you have somebody who looks up to you and somebody who's an equal to you. And on top of that, my motivation also comes from just the women around me, like the female energy around you that you bounce off to feel more stronger and feel more motivated. That's the connection I was trying to talk about. And the best place I have found to have it on daily or constant basis is gym, because people are at the best of their mindset. They are motivated. They came there to achieve something. They are very, very focused, and they actually behave much nicer at the gym once they are done with their sets than actually you will see them in real life. That's my personal feeling. I have seen this happen again and again. So that's what I was trying to talk about. Like if you work somewhere or you go to gym or wherever your family outside your active family is, because that family is completely bullshit free in a way, because there are no expectations. It's just you being present with somebody and enjoying your time together. You
Yeah.
talk about your day, that's the kind of notion I was talking about.
Yeah. So I can put that in perspective. So in my case, that was like when I said I belong in these groups, right? Like, for example, soccer, all these things. So we take it to another level. What happens is we actually have groups on WhatsApp, right? So what it is we're planning when to meet, we're planning who's gonna come out, right? But then of course when we're playing, obviously we're also making jokes and playing around and whatever, right? Like when you're actually playing, you're interacting too. But then because you exist in a group like on WhatsApp, the fun never stops, right? So when you're not playing, people are basically still connecting on the group, right? Like they're because on WhatsApp, for example, if I send a message, everybody gets to read it, right? And everybody responds. So like people are making jokes and nice comments. Sometimes if you find some like uh
That's what's important. If it's a soccer group, are you trash talking with each other?
well, yeah, no, it's trash talking, but also at the same time, if something's happening right around you that like related to the sport, obviously, like for example, if somebody says, hey, maybe we're getting too many injuries, so let's do this differently, right? For example, let's maybe pass the ball this way or that way, or maybe one touch pass. I mean, like basically people will suggest good things to improve the sport as well for everybody, right? Sometimes they'll share videos of professionals saying, hey, look at this video, like 30-second clip, like look how they're doing XYZ, like maybe so it does make everybody better, right? Because you're looking at the clip and you're like, oh man. So yeah, it's not just trash talking, but it's also positive feedbacks. It's also just somebody who knows maybe more than the other, they'll share. Again, we try to keep it we don't bring politics in there, we don't bring other bullshit in there, we try to keep it to the what the purpose of the group was, right? But yeah,
Right.
people do socialize on it, and that socialization goes like 24/7 basically, right? So you participate as you need, and you don't participate like if there's too many messages in certain groups, we get like 500 messages a day. Like, yeah, I don't read them anymore, but you see what I'm saying? Like, it depends on how much you want to interact, but there is interaction going on like constantly, right? Not just when I go to the field, so things like that. So I think that does connect. I think answer your question basically.
It's gonna get more important. So now we're gonna transition into next topic.
Oh, can I?
Oh yeah, please, please go ahead.
Because I didn't get on that topic at all. Really, I just got on the exercise part.
Yeah, please.
I was at a church last night, the first time I was ever there, and I felt welcome from the get-go. I've been to a lot of churches in the Phoenix area, and none of them were like that. It's like you got to get to know the people, and then you feel like family. This one, I walked in, and within minutes, I was part of the family. I was just one of the people, and the funny thing is, when I looked around, I was with a brown girl, and everybody else was black or brown. There was like two other brown people and a bunch of black people, and but they made me feel right at home, welcome. Just it was great. We were
What,
laughing and joking right away and having a good time.
what's the name?
And what's that?
What's the name of the church? I want to
Oh, you
know.
know what? I let me think a minute. It's the Valley. Oh gosh, I don't know. It's the Valley something. It's
Okay.
on Indian School and 35th.
All right.
It's very small. It's very small. But
No,
anyway, the gosh, I wish I could remember. But that's just one place that I do get that. But mostly with me, it's work. I'm freelance, and so I can be working for somebody new every week.
yeah,
I basically do. I work for somebody new every week, but the people that work on the jobs are all freelance, and my freelance family, I see them everywhere. So I run into different groups of them. As we go around, we all work in the same industry, so we're all seeing each other at work at different times. Sometimes you won't see somebody for a year, and sometimes you see somebody almost every week. So it's interesting. It's just depends on who they hire for that particular job. And yeah, but it's kind of cool when you see somebody you haven't seen in a little bit. Sometimes you'll be walking into because it's the event industry. It's like conventions and stuff. So you might walk into a big room, like especially like at the convention center, downtown. Uh, they have huge rooms. I mean, you could race cars down there, but you walk in the room and you hear your name, somebody screaming your name from across the room, saying hello. It's you run into the people and it's just fun. It's those people, you make these connections and you see them.
it's
They, that's pretty much it. That, and my own. I make. I work on films, so my film community friends, I see them on occasion. It depends on who's on the project, but same again, running into those people, and then I create TV talk shows. I do custom TV talk shows for any company or individual, and um, my crew. I have my crew that I do that with, and that's my outside family for that.
I, and we all need that. That's where you get to feel different. You feel ecstatic. It's
Right.
completely different feeling.
It's yeah, it's energizing. And that's another thing. Some people get their energy from other people, and
Yeah.
some people get their energy by being alone. Um, I always like to say, whenever anybody asks me, do you get your energy from other people or do you get it from being alone? I say, I like to suck the energy out of other people. But But I'm definitely social. I like being around people. I have 4 brothers and 4 sisters, so I grew up in a crowd, and I like it that way.
Right. And that's how it's supposed to be. And I think with remote work and all this other stuff, we are getting deprogrammed so that we cannot unite. We cannot feel that
Right.
social structure around us, and we feel more and more alone. And that's why we created this podcast. That was the whole intent.
Right. And this is cool because you two I've known for a long time, but we haven't connected in a long time. So it's really nice to reconnect.
Right. And it's just a completely different feeling. And I thought nobody was listening to our podcast, and that changed. So I feel so good. So let me transition into the next topic.
Okay.
So Israel versus Hamas. Hamas.
I was actually gonna say something. You saying no one's listening to our podcast. I can guarantee you that certain people we don't want to listen are listening.
Hey, big brother, how you doing?
Yeah, I hope you're enjoying it. Took us like 15 minutes to join the show, so suck it. Like the whole freaking world is on fire, and these people, I don't know, NSA or whatever, are sitting there listening to 3 guys just talking to each other. Like, come on. Oh my God. But so you guys need to focus on your job, okay? Stop listening to other people's job.
There you go.
People. But so ho- Israel versus Palestine, and what happened there before even we get into that topic? I thought that's what's gonna happen over here. I was mentally prepared, and the whole this family thing I was talking about is part of it because I wanted to make sure the people at least I care about in those sense are gonna be safe. And I really thought that attack is what's gonna happen here because we did poke the hornet's nest, and now that. But I want to hear what you guys are hearing about these things. So I will quickly present my points, and then we will move on to you guys. Um, I heard from Redacted, that's a wonderful news source that I really love. Uh, they said, which I was saying from the beginning, when my dad actually told me that this is what's happening, is there's no way Israel did not knew about this. They are the most fierce intelligence community and feared, you know. And now Libya, Egypt, and a couple of other countries are saying the same thing that there is no way they did not know. I think these countries indirectly said they knew and they also told them. So that's point number one. Point number two, the atrocities are just crazy, done by civilians. I cannot understand that. These guys are acting like they are trained. They are just like ISIS and Daesh, and the kind of things they are doing to Israeli men and women and children. Oh my God! And they're kicking the soldiers on like dead body. It's just the horrific and horrendous things coming out from there. And I have people that I care about on both sides. I have Jewish friends; those are actually heavily influenced and affected by this. So as I have Palestinian families, and they both tell their side of the story. And frankly, where I stand, I cannot decide what side to even take side of, because on one side, what is happening to Israel is unbelievable, but what has been happening to Palestine and how they have been trapped in that small area, and there is no prosperity. They have world's highest jobless numbers. Like I think 50 or 70% of youth cannot work. That's just insanity. And they are trapped in that area. They cannot go through sea because it's heavily guarded. Cannot go towards Israel because again heavily guarded, and they have 300 meter no life zone or whatever those are called, where if you wander off in there, you get killed.
Oh.
And the other side is Egypt. So there's very few opportunities. So there's no viable. good opportunities. There's hardly any schooling. They struggle, they starve on daily basis. So of course they are full of rage and anger towards any society that is oppressing them. And now you mess with Putin and you try to destroy his area. So now he's like, okay, I'm gonna give it back to you. And I think that's what. So Bhavin, you go ahead. You're first.
Yeah. So I would say, yeah, there's a lot of unknown information here. I mean, the new things that happen. I know that I heard some bad stuff, but I don't have enough information, so I'm probably not gonna say much but about it because I won't speak to something I'm not 100% in the known. But what I can say from the past is obviously a few things that raise common sense, right? So from the past, you are correct. I think there's always a conflict between every border across the world. So of course, this Israel, obviously a lot of Jews, right? And then they want to live in peace from the historical perspective, right? And every Muslim nation, mainly, right? They are usually trying to convert everybody else to be Muslim. I mean, that is a known common fact, right? So again, this issue is tied with that. Basically, the Muslims want to obviously wipe out Israel, they want them to submit to becoming, Muslims, basically, right? And it's just a matter of fighting for your existence, right? And yeah, the point that I don't like. So I mean, yeah, of course, what I'm gonna say is everybody has their own fights on every border of the world, between countries. But also, if you look at inside of any single country where there's diversity, there's always gonna be fights, between states, between cities, and all these things. It just happens because of the differences, right? People are not we the people obviously in third dimension are not as smart as we want to claim humanity to be smart, right? That's why I always say animals are much more smarter because animals only attack for survival, right? Only when they get hungry they'll kill other things and for food. When there's no need for food, they don't even fight, they don't even care. They'll probably play around with each other, or they'll just be at peace or just rest and chill and relax, right? But they will not attack another animal until they actually get hungry and they want something to feed on, right? But humans are not that smart like animals, right? They just basically want to have a lot of fights because of differences, right? Either they're trying to convert people, or either they don't like certain politics, or if they don't like certain education system, or basically it could be any small issue or big issue or medium issue, and that's what this is about. So going forward, of course, this is why it's happening. But what I don't like now is when world plays politics, right? So, for example, the Ukraine-Russia war, we know that war would have never happened if it wasn't for Biden, who actually went in. And as we discussed in the last episode or the one before, that Robert F. Kennedy also confirmed that, yeah, it was Biden's people who went in, they tore up the peace agreement, and they had them start the war because the United States, or basically not us, the Americans, we don't want this, right? It's the corrupted Democratic Party of Joe Biden and Obama's and Hillary's and all this. They wanted to make a war between the U.S. and Russia as non-direct, so going through another medium like Ukraine, and that's what that is. So, what I heard about this topic is, of course, the money that Joe Biden pushed out, the $6 billion to Iran, and of course, Obama was doing this too back in the days, right? They were constantly under the name of, the nuclear deal, telling Iran not to build one, but they were keep providing the money. It's the Democrats who kept funding the projects by saying the total opposite, right? And that's exactly what this is. So this thing was, there's always a tension, but this thing only escalates when someone from outside funds it. And that funding went from the corrupted American government, or corrupted Democrats of America. I wouldn't say the American government because that's even a bigger bubble, and that's not true. Is the corrupted Democrats of the American government send the money to fund this thing, and that gives them enough purchasing power to now go ahead and start the war, right? Go ahead and feed their army. Go ahead and move those vehicles to the certain areas. Go ahead and fire those rockets. It's basically the funding that provides the means of starting something like this.
So really quickly to add to your point, there is proof appearing at this point that the weapons used are the weapons those were sent to Ukraine. So this is how crazy this is. So Biden gives money to Iran, 6 billion, and then they provide the weapons to Ukraine. So then the 6 billion goes to Ukraine again to purchase the same weapons that America provided to them,
Correct.
and then
Correct.
it
So
Palestine to create this Israeli issue. Like if you think about the insanity of this.
yeah. So, and also don't forget Afghanistan. We left $100 billion of weapons in Afghanistan when it was Biden, August of 2021, when he left it, right? So that's in the hands of Taliban. We don't even know right now because again, remember this is World War III. What happens in a war is sides come together, right? There's going to be allies being formed on both sides, right? So Iran could be leveraging some of the stuff from those weapons left behind in the neighboring country, Afghanistan. And they could be working with Taliban, right? And on this side, of course, they're going to be working with Ukraine. So, yes, we left $100 billion of weapon in Afghanistan. We send, I don't even know how much money, but at least, if I'm not wrong, like over $200-300 billion to Ukraine by now, right? I mean, if not more, including weapons and stuff like that. And then another 6 billion just went to Iran. So it is that the Democratic Party could not. Here's the thing: Democratic Party tried to start a civil war within USA, versus, black versus white, right? That's why those riots were there, all these racism cards that they're playing, all these things, right? But that didn't succeed. So now they're trying to cause a chaos, obviously. So now they're saying, hey, look, we feel that starting a civil war. Okay, you know what? People are waking up in the U.S. Let's now, if we feel that plan, so now let's do something on a world stage. Let's freaking go have Ukraine fight Russia, right? They know they're gonna be dead, but this supporting factor, right? Now, Russia didn't cripple because Russia's smart and they're powerful, but they're smart. And countries like, again, neutral countries, I would say at this point would be like India, right? They're just looking for their best interest, so they're not going to take sides. But certain things happening, right? Um, other smart people like Russia said, you know what, we cannot sell the oil to the Western countries. We'll sell it to you guys. And then of course that's all legit, right? And India's like, yeah, we're gonna make profit, so why not? If US wants to be stupid and put a $60 cap and then still buy the same damn oil for $100 a barrel, then the stupidest person here would be the USA, not Russia or India, right? So things like these are happening, but because Democrats are getting defeated at every freaking thing that they tried, it's like they try something and they always fail because they are, at the end of the day, not that intelligent. They think they are, but that's the ego portion that proves them wrong all the time. And they fail at every chess move that they have made because they're not smart enough, right? And this is why we're seeing all the issues in the U.S. Inflation to people unemployed to everything, right? The border crisis, everything is all because they think they're smart, but they're really not, and they fuck up everything because they don't know the 10 moves from now. They're just looking at, oh, let me just do this move, and I don't know, I'm going in a trap, but let me just do it, and then they get in a trap, and then they want to start something else. So right now they're trying to start a World War III, right? That's what this is
Oh,
because they're the civil war.
right. So I will tell you, they are. I agree with you. They are kind of stupid, but you know what's the craziest part of it? That when stupid people lose, they only get stupider.
Oh, it's amazing. You're so right. You
Correct.
are so right.
Yes, go ahead. Your turn.
You want me to talk?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Okay. My thing partly is that whenever there's a war, I always hear, well, they're starting a war because that's where they get money. They gotta have a war to make money. And they think that's where all the money for the US comes from. But wait till you see what happens when Trump comes back. It's the same thing that happened when he came around the first time. He stopped wars and made us wealthy. But he's going to do it even bigger the next time. It's going to be huge.
Mhm.
I honestly believe we will have more wealth than we ever thought possible once he comes back. and he will end the wars. So that's not where money comes from. Money comes from letting the people work and letting them keep their money. That's where wealth comes from. The government doesn't make money, it takes money. And just setting the people free to do their thing allows them, this is what it is. Freedom breeds wealth. They will become wealthy because they are free to do so. As far as the war, I think, like we talked about last week, it's just too difficult to find out the truth anymore. They've clouded it so much that we have no idea who's telling the truth and who's lying, and usually it's both sides lying to some extent. So, it's really tough to know what's going on. But I do side with Israel on, I said something funny today. I'll probably get in trouble for it too because I posted it on Facebook. Uh, but I said George Takei is upset because Israel is being mean to the terrorists. And that's what it seems like to me. They.
Frankly, that is the truth. They are the ones who are.
Yeah. It's just the instigators are the bad guys in my mind, and the terrorists are always the bad guys, and the Democrats, the left, always sides with criminals, thugs, and terrorists. Always. It's amazing to see.
But there is so much to discover with this conflict. Like the crazy thing since we said World War III. There are two things prophecy-wise that actually scare me because from what I understood from Bible that people have told me, when there is blood spilled on Israel, the Holy Land, that's where the World War III starts. And the reason I say that is because now Egypt, Turkey, a couple of other countries have made it very clear. They actually fired missiles at Israel, saying, if you make this a full-on conflict, we are going to demolish you. And in response, Israel has said from their defense minister, if I understood correctly today, is if it's going to be a bloodbath, we are ready and we are going to just destroy and demolish the whole Gaza and Hamas area. There will be nobody left. They don't care. They are calling them barbaric. And now you have to consider the fact that 60% of people, those who live there, are children.
Israel was given land when they by the UN when Israel became a nation again, which was another prophecy in the Bible, that they would be scattered throughout the earth and become a nation again. And they fought a war because all those nations around them hate them and don't think they should exist. So they came after them, and I believe we call that the 6-Day War, and they won their land, and they then had a bunch of peace talks over the years. Usually in the 70s, I believe that was when they started, and they had all these peace talks, and they kept giving up land for peace, but it never created peace because the other side doesn't want peace; they want to annihilate Israel. Right. So Israel is less than half the size that it was already, and it's a teeny tiny speck on the map around these big nations that can't seem to get rid of them. It's like a flea that won't go away.
And why do you hate them for it? They are the smart people, those who turned that small piece of land into a prosperous nation. Why can't you focus on your nation and do the same? Why you're always going after that small group of people, which is just ridiculous. They killed in so many numbers in Germany. Finally, they have some peace, and you cannot be okay with it. But then they became an aggressor too. So it's the history is so convoluted on this,
Yeah. But I believe this is not going to be World War III. It's I don't know what is going to happen, but yeah, I think things are going to be rough. We're in rough waters right now. We're going to stay in rough waters for a little bit, but it won't be that long, and things are going to get better, and they're going to get way better.
I kind of agree with you, and I love your optimism because this is an event in the past. But number one, I think we are already in World War III, and it has been since 2012. In my opinion, that's when they tried to start the conflict, but Putin said, "I'm not gonna be the one." So then they started circling around him to push him into a war, so that they can actually officially start it. It's now at this point, it's just a matter of declaring. But we are in World War III. Don't you agree with that?
Well, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I just, this isn't the, well, for one thing, the Bible says there will be there'll be a world religion, a world leader, a world currency, and a world religion before the world ends. So
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't end with World War III. Maybe we do go into World War III, but it ends with World War IV. But World War IV will be also known as Armageddon.
Yeah. Agreed.
So what's that?
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay. And but the prophecies say Trump will be back, and he'll do all the things that I said. He's going to bring incredible wealth to America, and I think the reason is because everybody is fed up with the left, and finally, enough people see what's going on that they're just going to want to be rid of the left. And I've said this over and over again: the only reason that America isn't 100 times wealthier than it is than it's ever been is because there are lefties, and they have been trying to destroy America since before the ink could dry on the founding documents. These guys have been around trying to do everything they can to make it not work, and um, they're the ones that gave us the income tax. Our founders would have fought to the death. They would not have allowed an income tax. But
So
what's that?
I'm like, I kind of agree with you on that, but I think we need two-party system at least,
Oh,
right?
well, I don't
Because
mind a two-party system, but
right,
I don't want one of those parties to be anti-American.
or so limited. I agree. Right.
So that's the problem with the second party right now, is that it's anti-American.
Yeah. By the way, Bhavin, like you can also talk to Joe. Like it's always to me. I'm like, you guys can talk with each other too.
Oh no, I will. I just didn't want to interrupt the thought because it's easy for me to just let someone finish their thought and then I can just point out what I don't agree with or what I agree with. Type of thing. So I didn't want to interrupt Joe, but I'll come to it.
You can go ahead now. I'm good.
Okay, yeah. So I agree with again I agree with some of the stuff that Joe said, and I'll point out the ones I don't agree. Right. So everything he said about Trump coming back and how Trump made everybody wealthy without war. I agree to 100% because it's all about bringing jobs back. It's all about creating stuff within the U.S. so that the GDP goes up, and that's what the whole how the economy works, right? But basically, you make something and you sell it to somebody, well, you're going to
Right.
keep that dollar, right? And so if US makes a lot of products and then if people in the world buy it, yeah, then US will keep the money. I also agree that income tax, this, since 1871, this income tax stuff that those 13 cabal families have made. Basically, what it made was like it made the dollar just a paper, right? It's not really a real. So like when we exchange stocks and everything nowadays electronically, you say, oh, it's not paper. It's basically buy sell, right? You don't look at the difference, and that's what you lost or that's what you made. So the American dollar has been like that since 1871 because it's not backed by the gold, right? And gold is the real currency. So everything Joe said about that perspective is true. Now, the only thing I don't agree with, and again, this kind of steps into the religion side. And here's how I want you guys to think, right? So, yes, the world has many religions, right? These days, obviously, they all start somewhere, right? And then they all go somewhere, right? But if you remember from now, me thinking like neutrally, right? Because many times I think from a perspective that what is the question when people say, oh, it's going to end the world? So like whatever Bible says, Joe knows that, right? But my question is, every religion is going to have certain different story of how the world ends. But the question in reality is, what does it mean what the world ends? Because here's how I want you guys to think. I don't think, okay, well, first of all, the world does not mean mankind, period, right? The world means the earth, right? So
Right.
now here are scenarios, right? So I always tell people to think in a different way because see, humanity doesn't have to get wiped out. Like think of any germ, right? Any germ or any bacteria. Like when you get sick, your body gets infested with these germs that makes you feel weak because it's attacking your immune system, right? And that could be flu, that could be just a regular seasonal sickness or whatever, right? Now, when you take medicine or whatever you do, or you just wait it out, it comes to a point where it peaks, and then majority of those bad germs get dominated and it dies by white blood cell. All of them do not die, right? Some of them always remain, and then they mutate, right? So that's the thing. Next time you get sick, it's gonna be a little different. It's gonna be a little stronger. You're gonna need a bigger dose. So humans, animals, any species, same way. The world is the world itself, the environment, the earth has nothing to do with any life source, right? And then now we go down and we say, okay, what is a life source? We have stuff in the sea, we have stuff on the land, we have stuff in the air, right? We got birds, we got mammals, animals, humans on the land, and we got sea creatures in the sea. And we don't even know how many sea creatures there are because we don't have time to even distinguish all this, right? But here's what happens: the world is that entire system. Now, when humanity gets extinct, the world still lives, right? And I don't think like, okay, this agenda that we talk about, the people call it conspiracy, whatever, right? We want to decrease the population from 8 billion to half a billion, or even this theory, right? Even this theory, yes, it does sound bad. Is it really bad in terms of the world? I don't know, because maybe it's not. Because think of it this way: right now there's 8 billion people. Yeah, the resources are stretched out. Like they're stretched out to a point where we are harming other animals. So from that perspective, if humanity goes down in size. I'm not saying go down to half a billion from 8 billion, but let's say even if it goes from 8 billion to 6 billion, is it going to help the other species thrive and survive? Definitely, right? I think that's a good thing, right? But I am against the part of decreasing through force, right? Now, if humanity dies down naturally, right, where basically if two people are having only one kid by choice, not by force, by choice, then over time, yes, that 8 billion will come down to 7, then 6, then 5, whatever, right? Because now two are only making one. So there is that the ratio is going down, right? If two people are making two kids, the ratio stays the same, right? Because it's 1-to-1 ratio. If you have more than two kids, yeah, then your population goes up. So that's the whole thing. So God has created saying, hey, if two people only have one kid, your population will come down by choice. So I think
We cannot hear you.
the world is not related to any species, and the species survival is only dependent on the species, regardless of the religion. So, I mean, that's how I want people to actually know that that's how the nature actually works. I call that the nature because that's what the nature does, right? It is above and beyond any religion. It is above and beyond anything because nature itself, meaning the sun, the moon, all the planets, all the sun, all the galaxies, right? These are all nature, part of nature, where it is the capsule that we need to exist, right? If they don't exist, if Earth blows up tomorrow, yeah, everything on Earth is gone. There's no way, right? So that's how I think, right? Basically, and this is like a higher level thinking of, do we even have the capability to even exist on this plane or that plane, right? And that's where I think that's, people now, when they look at it from that perspective, they'll see a much more clear vision. I think that's where I was talking about last episode. Like, does Elon Musk know something that might have a big disaster that he's trying to push this move, saying, hey, if we split some humans to go to Mars, and if Earth does actually explode or stop spinning or goes near to the sun or dies or whatever the case may be, which we know is going to happen in like 10 billion years, because they say the sun's going to grow in size, and of course Earth's going to get too hot. It won't be. It'll be like Venus now, like it'd be too hot to live. But is there something else going on that he's saying, hey, let's move people to other planets? So if one planet dies for whatever reason, humanity still or humans continue, right?
Right. So, Bhavin, I don't know if you noticed, I'm pretty sure you did not, but we were hearing it, and you went through at least two different cycles where your voice just went from normal to robotic to going to a tunnel.
Yeah, it sounds like you're talking into a walkie-talkie or something.
They don't want me to talk.
I was like, why they always do it to Bhavin? I don't know.
They don't want me to give out the knowledge, man. That's what they say.
No,
I think he was in a submarine for a bit there.
right underwater. I was like,
Here's one thing I want to mention. So
Right.
this is happening, and I'll tell you. Okay, knowledge is very powerful, right? I am getting it obviously through a lot of internal sources, but again, when I say internal sources, some of the sources I'm thinking like the knowledge just appears, right? And some of them is because I'm an engineer, I think in a different way. Some of it is because I'm open to all the possibilities. Some of it is because I'm open to, and I know this for a fact. The people in charge right now, of course, the cabal, the Democrats, the demonizers, right? They don't want the knowledge. So, like, even look at the world history, right? When British were colonizing all these countries, they were stealing their valuables, right? They were stealing the stuff, but they were destroying the cultural knowledge, right? And a lot of the stuff that I'm saying, right? It's been, there's a lot of stuff that goes in older religions, right? And it's just knowledge, right? Again, Christians been there for 2,000 years, but the religions of the East have been there for millions of years, right? And I think British and them they did steal the gold and stuff, but they also destroyed a lot of knowledge, right? And this is where humanity needs to go back to, because
That's how you control people.
no, it's not about, but it's not about control, right? See, the knowledge is yeah. By burning it, you control. Like exactly, Hitler did the same thing, right? He burned books. British did the same thing when they colonized the world, and so on and on, right? You're right. They're controlling it because they don't want people to be smarter than them, right? That's what this is all about. And
Right.
there's so much knowledge that India had, that even China had, like the ancient India, ancient China, and even ancient Egypt had, right? Like if you look at now Egypt, right? It's
Right.
dominated by Muslims. It's no longer Egyptians. They call themselves Egyptians, but they're not. They're not the Egyptians that were there before.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mexicans aren't the Mexicans that were there before.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think every piece of land that is occupied at the moment was owned by somebody else before.
Right. It was conquered by somebody. Exactly. Right. But it was conquered for a certain reason, right? Egypt was conquered because of the religion reason, right? And that's the same thing happening with Israel. They're saying, hey, we're all Muslim nations around you. And that's what this is. Like, we're gonna wipe you out if you don't do this. And I think that's the one reason why India has always been siding with Israel, right? Because India believes, Hinduism believes in, hey, let me live and you live. I don't care what you believe, just let me live, let me do. And that's what Israel's saying, right? They're saying, hey, we're Jews, just let us exist. Like, we don't care what you do in your country, but this is our country. And people who have, like, Muslims, they want to how do you say, they want to convert everything, right? Because their motto is everybody should be Muslim or not alive, right? That's what that whole thing is.
They got 3 steps, actually: either a Muslim, a slave, or not alive.
True.
Yeah. But hey, Christianity does the same too. It's not like not everybody is.
Well, not Christianity. Jesus never taught that.
No,
if you're a Christian,
I'm
you
talking about-
follow Christ. If you
Right.
claim to be a Christian and don't do what Christ said, then you're not a Christian. You're just
Yeah, Joe. But
a
I
religious
think
person like the Pharisees were in Jesus' time. They ended up killing him.
yeah,
Right. But neither did Muhammad said like spread my religion. People chose to be part
exactly.
of
It's the people, not the where it started. I think what Tulk is saying is that most Christians are not that as crazy as Muslims, but he's saying that there are some Christians out there, they want to spread, right? And
Right.
I think that's what he's referring to. Just some people, yes.
We're
agree.
told.
Right.
What's that?
Go ahead. Then I make.
We're told to preach the gospel to all the world, but we're not supposed to kill the people to turn them into Christians. The Muslims, actually, Muhammad said, I have gained many followers through terror. He killed a whole lot of people. Jesus never killed anybody. He actually let them kill him. It was a choice with him.
Right. Like he died for people, and Muhammad said, like, I'm not gonna die for you guys. I'm gonna
Right.
rebel against you and put you in your place. But either religion is okay with me. I don't care. It's the people that are messing it up. Like, those people, the great ones, those we call messengers, they did the job right. It's us, those were left behind and ruined it. And I think, and if we talk
It's
about Armageddon, that's what it is said, right? That it's going to be between Christians versus Muslims. And that's why they keep trying to spread their religion so that it's strength in numbers.
it's also, just want to point out, it's also the incentives, right? So the reason Muslims do something like a terror much more easily is the 72 virgins, right? This is why Kalki, when you go to dream, don't get involved with women, man. They're evil.
And I cannot live without them. So
No, I'm not saying it. No. My thing was, what I'm saying is, yeah, of course, I'm not saying women are bad. I'm just saying women can make you do certain things, right? What I'm saying is, when those questions come, you need to know what's right, what's wrong. I'm not saying don't love them, but they do
Right.
make emotional decisions, right? Like in this case, Muhammad said 72 virgins, they do it, right? Because they're not saying like, oh, what kind of women? And Muhammad didn't say there's going to be 72 demons, demon women, right? I mean, they didn't say anything, right? But basically they're saying, oh my God, women, okay, I'm going to do it, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, you got to be careful, not to do something wrong just for something else, right? You want to
but
analyze the situations and do the right things for the right reasons, yes.
but for me, it goes bigger than this. So let me explain what I'm trying to say. It's number one. All the books said that the holy war will happen. So in a way, it was planned ahead of time. Now there's two different possibilities. Maybe it was just written that way so that they can gear everybody towards it, and it's like a setup. Or it is actually predicted because it's gonna happen no matter what we do, right? So if we think from that perspective, it's only nature running its course. It's a cycle. It is going to happen. It needs to happen, and it is inevitable.
Yeah. Now, one thing I do want to clear though, okay, because I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. Religion makes people do certain things, all right, but it doesn't mean that all people are in the known of it and doing the bad things. Like, and what I'm trying to clear is, yes, not all Muslims are bad. There are people who converted to Muslim that I even know. They are good people, right? Now, I asked them the question. This is the question I asked them because I know they're good people, but they're Muslim. So I said, hey, looking at the history, what were you before Muslim came out 1700 years ago? For example, I know somebody who came from Europe, right? Again, those countries in the East Europe are all basically Muslim dominated, right? But I know Europe had a different history, 1700 years, before that, because they had, the Romans and all these other things. So I said, hey, I know you are following that because you were born into a family that followed it. Somebody in your ancestors sometime converted to that, but I don't see these bad things in you, and you are great. Like, his whole family is a great human being, and I'm saying, like, what were you guys? Because if I was you, I'd be curious to find out what was I in my ancestors, right? What were and I make them think, saying like, there's no way I can believe that these people, are, I think they got the wrong label on them, basically. That's what I'm saying, right? So I would always say, yeah, keep that also possibly going, because I always try to rewind time back. And where did people come from? And what were they when this particular religion did not exist, right? Because that's how you can define the nature of the person, because the nature hardly ever changes.
Right. So let me pivot it now, really quickly, because we're gonna hit our 1 hour mark very soon. To add to that is just human nature, and it's just ways to manipulate. But now, from one religion to another religion, which is politics, Robert Kennedy just declared that he is running independent. That's gonna change the election cycle this time. So I want both of your opinions. Let's start with Joe.
Okay. See, I am a firm believer that the prophecies are true, partly because I've just seen too many of them come true. So I don't care if Trump goes on a independent, and we then have four parties, two new parties, and well, I don't know if is Robert Kennedy, is he creating a new party, or is he going with an existing
Nope,
independent party?
he's just going independent, no party affiliation, as I understood so far.
Well, usually independent is with some independent party, whatever, some party that's not Republican or Democrat, but whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what happens, how they shuffle the cards. Trump's going to be the president, so
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter to me what they do. I don't
No,
even pay attention to what they're doing because
okay.
I know how it's going to turn out.
No, I understand that, but it makes the game more exciting, and that's what I'm more interested in.
I
Is
see.
who gets affected, who gets hurt, and change the decision of votes. And because the reason is we have to talk about these things because then only we can analyze what the other side, the bad actors, are going to do.
Right.
The election, you know. So
Yeah.
along these lines, what do you think?
I think that people will get excited, and I think that that's going to take. Actually, I think that he can take votes from both sides, which is interesting. But I think Trump has so much popularity that it's not going to make a difference. And what's that?
I can see that. I'm agreeing.
Yeah. So, yeah, to me, I didn't even watch the debates. I used to not, if I didn't watch the debates, I would go look on YouTube later and look at the highlights or something. I didn't even do that this time around.
Because nobody who's talking is interesting enough to even listen.
well, to me, it's like what I posted on Facebook. I said, the debates are a waste of time, breath, and money.
Right.
It's just, even anyone running against Trump is wasting their time and money because, they're not going to make it. It might make them popular a little bit, it might help give them name recognition, whatever, but it's not going to, it's not going to change the outcome.
Yeah. Okay. And Bhavin, your
Yeah, I
opinion?
think the question was, what am I thinking if Robert F. Kennedy runs as independent, right? Who's gonna win?
You're in a tunnel or are you driving?
No, you guys cannot hear me?
Oh, dude, it's so bad. It's like you're in a submarine right now.
Okay, is it better? Because I'm in the same spot, man. I don't know what's going on.
Huh,
Nice.
yeah, I don't know. It is bad though.
Who did you piss off that they are so much against you, man? What list are you on?
The funny thing is,
someone's targeting me. They don't want me to say anything.
yeah, I was going to say the funny thing is that sometimes it's clear as a bell.
Right.
It's not consistent.
Right.
That's just strange. Is it better now or same?
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty good. Oh, man. Okay, so if I leave, because I'm the host now, so if I leave, it might drop the whole call.
Right. Yep.
I can't even leave. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, but we will deal with it. Go ahead, present your thought. Oh,
okay. Is it better now or no?
Nope, same.
Okay, so what I was gonna say is I'm gonna say slowly then, because then it might be better to hear. So I agree with Joe that Trump will still win. Doesn't matter who does what. The reasons are, see, we know in every country around the world, in every election, politicians lie, right? They always promise, and they never deliver. I've seen this in India, I've seen this here, I've seen it everywhere, right? Every country has the same problem because politicians, they will lie out of their ass just to get the vote, and then they forget who put them in power. So the only person who defied that notion was Trump, because he said, I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, and he did X, Y, Z. At least If he didn't succeed, that's a whole different story. But he tried his best to get that X, Y, and Z, and that puts him apart from any politician in the modern age, right? In the last at least probably 100 years, and
Yep.
that's the reason Trump will come. Now, another reason Trump will come is Bush fucked up, so people want to change. They put Obama. Obama fucked up really bad with this terrorism attacks that happen every month, right? Shooting here, shooting there, everything. People got tired of that. People got tired of the bailouts. I mean, tired of a lot of shit that Obama did that was just not good. So that's the reason Trump came, right? And then we know Trump would have been here, but they cheated, and now Joe made the whole thing. Joe made America the shithole, right? Trump was saying, hey, we don't want people coming up from the other shitholes, this and that, we're gonna let them. But Joe Biden made America the shithole. And that is the reason people are paying through their pockets right now. Inflation, no jobs, wrong data that they're reporting, dollars going down. I mean, everything is not good for America right now. So this is the reason why Trump's gonna come back, because he proved it once, he's gonna prove it again. So it doesn't matter if Robert F. Kennedy, the prodigal nephew returns or whatnot. Robert F. Kennedy or anybody else are putting the other bucket, saying, okay, they're promising all these things. Are they going to deliver? Just a big question. And even though, yeah, they're better than the demonizing Democrats, is there still the question, are they going to deliver? Because when that question comes up, Trump has delivered. That's a known fact. So I think that's the reason anybody in this race for the second term of Trump, doesn't matter who stands up, is going to be Trump. Now, if Robert F. Kennedy comes back for 2028, yes, I agree. He will win because he's a good candidate. Whether he runs as a Democrat, Republican, or independent, he's gonna run. But right now, he doesn't have a chance compared to Trump.
I agree with that.
I agree with all of that too. I concur. But I think him declaring himself as an independent is going to hurt Democrats a lot more than it's going to hurt Trump. I'm not saying Republican Party because even they are not sure. And I am very worried that there is a possibility that Trump will be stopped from running in the election or something worse. Big possibility.
So here's the thing. Your first worry, right? You're saying independent votes will hurt the Democrat votes. But look at it this way. Every election, it has been so like Joe said, there's many other parties. There's a Green Party, the other independent parties where I forgot the names, but I've seen like up to 5 parties in some of the elections. Like they have names. So as independent, you just create a party. There's a Tea Party, there's a Green Party, there's a Liberal Party, and there's other ones. But basically, here's what's gonna happen. There's always 2 major parties, right? It's always been the Republicans versus Democrats, because the other guys only get 3% or 2% or 1% or whatever. It's so minuscule, right? In this case, if Robert F. Kennedy runs as an independent, whatever the name of the party that he chooses, then what's going to happen in this case is most of the votes going to go to independent and Republicans. The Democrat Party is going to have the minuscule 2% or 3%. So the story is going to be the same. Basically, it's going to be 2 major parties. In this case, it's going to be independent versus Republicans. But eventually, it's going to be Trump taking the win. And Robert F. Kennedy might get like whatever, if Trump gets 60%, Robert F. Kennedy might get 30%, and then the other 3 parties will split the 10%, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right. But I don't think you guys understood what I'm saying. There's a possibility that there will be no Trump. And if that happens, then it changes the equation completely. Now I understand what Joe is saying, that's not gonna happen. But these evil fuckers, they have no switch off buttons and they don't stop.
Well, so I agree with Joe. Here's the reason. So by the Constitution, I think one of the judge already ruled this last week. He said that he blocked the motion saying Trump can, like, I think Democrats already passed the motion saying, hey, Trump cannot be even a candidate. And one of the judge, I read it somewhere, he said, I'm blocking that motion because you cannot tell somebody not to run. Yeah, you're putting all these cases against him. That's all okay, whatever. But one of the federal judge blocked the motion saying, no, Trump cannot be blocked from not running. Now, here's the thing. Think of it different way. Remember the other thing I said in my last episode. I said the jungle rule comes into play at any time. So if what people want, which is Trump, and people have gone through a lot since COVID, right? The lockdowns, this, that, mask bullshit, the COVID vaccine bullshit. I mean, there's a lot of bullshit people went through. People are tired of bullshit. So the jungle rule can come in any time. If someone says, "Hey, you cannot do this anymore," and when everybody wakes up and go like, who the fuck are you guys? The government trying to tell us this small sum trying to tell the 80% or 90% of the country to not do X, Y, Z. They will overthrow the government. That is also a possibility. So I think if Trump is not even a candidate, I think the people will just say, you know what, screw everybody. We're gonna make a whole damn new government, and we're done with the Constitution, and we're done with the whole U.S. Right? They're gonna just make a new country, basically. I can see that happening more because when majority's tired, what's the minority gonna do? Like, for example, if I stop paying taxes, and if 80% people stop paying taxes, which is kind of actually is a reality case right now, right? A lot of people are not working, right? So here's the thing: Biden wanted to collect a lot of higher taxes, but most people are not working because he fucked up the economy. They didn't collect as much tax as even what they were even going for, right? So stuff like that. If people just stop, complying with everything, the small few ain't gonna run the country anymore.
Yeah, great point to close this show today. Closing remarks, Joe, you go first.
Well, first of all, I do believe if they block Trump from being on the ballot, he will win by write-in vote. That's my thought.
Mm-hmm. And your closing remarks?
I liked what we talked about in the beginning about family, about connecting, and I see myself doing it. I don't know how much other people do it, but I encourage people to do it as much as they can and to exercise. Exercise is good for you. As far as the war, I'm really sad to see it. It's an amazing disappointment and horrific reality. And I wish it would stop, but there are evil people in the world, and there always will be, and that's why we need a military, because there are evil people in the world. And I hope everybody feels a responsibility to get out and vote, and helps make this country great again. And I can't wait to see what happens, because I know that basically the left is going to be exposed and basically gotten rid of, at least for a little while. So I think that's why everything's going to be wonderful, is because we won't have the lefties in the way. They're going to be in big trouble for all of the things they actually did, and for trying to prosecute Trump for things that they made up. That's it.
And I hope he becomes the speaker and we don't have to wait for him to get
It would be nice.
Yeah, to get the justice. Having your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm going to try to wrap everything, and it's going to be similar things I've been saying, but we're going to connect the dots from this podcast. So, of course, question everything, right? Analyze everything and all these things. But now I'm going to give you new pointers from this podcast. So, rise above all the programming that you're being told to program, which includes even the religion or how people act or whatnot, right? You always want to rise above that and think of it from the nature perspective. Nature is the highest source ever. Nature is basically the platform that you live on, is the earth, is the sun, is the moon, is everything around you, right? These planets have gravitational pull on you. All the planets in our solar system, the galaxy has a pull on you, right? There's a lot of knowledge out there. So rise above all the stuff that you're programmed to do and think of it from that perspective. Don't look at people, of course, with their skin colors or what they are. Look for their character, right? And that will give you a better understanding on also coming back to the first point, socializing, right? That's when you socialize with people, you're not going to get into fights, you're not going to get into arguments. You're going to try to actually understand them, and you're going to make better friends. You're going to make better relationships. And of course, the respect will come out of you, in a way that they will respect you back. And then this is the way we change the world to be better, right? And when they say, how are you going to change the world, right? It starts with us, to be a better human, right? Because again, what school you went to, what education you got, what profession you are, what religion you are, all these things are basically labels at a certain point. There's a lot of things above that, and that's where I want everybody to go to, right? And I want you to practice that, and that's when you're going to see that a lot of the things that people fight for are just the small blips, right? And when you put them aside, you're going to make a lot of progress with everybody. This is how we defeat the cabal, right? Because everything, at the end of the day, all religions talk about the same thing: good versus evil. Well, this is what this is. When you become the good, as I just described, you will know what the evil is, and that's when all the good can come together and actually defeat the evil, which is in this case in the modern world. That's Democrats. That's this corruption going on everywhere. Uh, the power grab, the control grab, all these things, right? So when we remove those people, then we're gonna have people like us who just want to live the life and be happy with whatever then you want to do, right? And that's when we're gonna see peaceful times with whatever religions are left at that time, peaceful times with whatever professions are there, and just people respecting each other and wanting good things for the other people. And that's where I'm going to close it with saying that's how you make it better in socializing everything, making better friends, making better humans, making everything. And then where you're going to care for other animals and other everything, right? It's going to be all love and love everywhere.
Okay. Heavy stuff. Very heavy stuff. All right. So,
Can I first say,
yeah.
first he sounds like he's on the Yellow Submarine, and then he's saying all you need is love.
I need to have my voice heard, okay? Somebody who's doing this, stop it.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so closing remarks from me. To me, this conversation has been a little bit different again from previous episodes. It seems like one religion, one world, one currency, everything one is also inevitable, just like having these wars. The only difference is that the shitty people are in control or the good people are in control.
Right.
I want to tell all of you that that decision is on you. Because when you do not act on bad stuff, when you know something is bad and you do not want to confront it because it's ugly, because it makes you uncomfortable, or you do not want to think about it, or it's not a possibility in your perfect world, doesn't mean it disappears. It only gets more powerful because of your ignorance. And this war in Israel and Palestine is a perfect example of what caused it. And most of you are stupid enough to live in that fantasy world where you think you don't need nobody as long as you pay your taxes and your government is there to protect you. End of the day, they don't give a shit about you. And that's the freaking scary truth. And these people will stay in power because you people are keeping them in power. These murders are on all of our hands because we chose to not fight back. If you think you're a good person, if you have even an ounce of sympathy for someone innocent, then the choice is coming to you very soon. And it's not a matter of who you're going to vote for. It is going to be a matter of who you're going to be on daily basis. And that's why it's important to choose your peers, to choose a family that you believe in and you can stand by, because sooner or later it's gonna be everyone for himself. That's the only rule that nature follows. And if you're alone and you think you have seen all those crazy movies and you can survive on your own, no, my friend.
Mhm.
Even if you succeed, it's gonna be a shitty life because you will be all alone. Please understand that. Please make better choices. And to the assholes, those who are doing the same thing that the prophecies kind of tells us. So they are doing us a favor by waking all of you up. More and more of you will wake up and join and understand what needs to happen. Because if we don't, none of us will survive. And the people, the idiots, those who are trying to do this to us, thinking their way is the right way and they are doing us a favor, at least do it faster, man. You're making life pathetic. I do not enjoy a single day anymore. And to all of you fuckers, go fuck yourself and let us fucking peace. This is Kalki Kara, your host. I want to thank you, Bhavin. I want to thank you, Joseph, for joining me today. And I want to thank you, Tommy, for giving us a new life with your kind words. It's Rebels United Chapter 8. Thank you, everybody. Have a good